Okay, hey guys, back here with part two of Anne Bishop's The Black Jewels Trilogy. In part one, which I like to do because, like I said, in a world that is this complex, obviously you got the jewels and their descending power, and then obviously the caste system. I wanted to really focus on that and just give you like the main couple of characters in part one. I know it was a little lengthy. I try to shorten these as much as I can, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But now on the second part here, I want to focus more on the story, and there's a few elements that need to be covered here. Obviously, Damon and Lucifer, we touched on them earlier. Now, what I really like is by the time the second book of the trilogy gets going, and it really does, it gets going, Heir to the Shadows, the backstory of a lot of things are uncovered. The first book, if you can get, okay, guys, if you can get through the first book, which it's about, roughly 377 pages, okay, trust me, it's worth it. Because a lot of people will try and put it down after that first book. But if you stick with it, when you get to the second book, it's going to pay off dividends. And trust me, if it ain't worth reading, I'll tell you. But Anne Bishop here, there's another realm that I didn't mention previously, and it's called the Twisted Kingdom, which is basically a very interesting way that Anne Bishop has put in there for somebody that has either been broken or has been emotionally scarred in some way, to be a part of their bodies and have to find their way back. Kind of like what happened to Tersa in the first book. She was this great black widow, which is a weaver of dreams, and basically she's also a pretty good healer. Well, after that prophecy that kind of really drove her crazy at the start of the first book, well, she's fallen into the Twisted Kingdom, which basically means she's lost within inside of herself and needs somebody to help her get back. Put all the pieces of the chalice back together. Okay, that's a very important concept that you would get here because, like I said, after the last of the first book, I don't want to give anything away, but Damon, Janelle, several of them have to go into this Twisted Kingdom, and there's certain ways that have to draw them out. And it's a very interesting way how it happens. But by the end of the second book, Heir to the Shadows, we know Janelle at the end of the first book finds her way out of it. I don't want to tell you how it happens. At the end of the second book, Damon, who he's been dreaming of having having a woman like this, being a pleasure slave and being a sadist. He basically he doesn't really do anything. He just teases the ladies so much, and he's got this aura because he doesn't know that his father is the High Lord of Hell, Satan, which was the only other black jeweled warlord prince in forever. So obviously Damon doesn't know that, but he is also a black jeweled warlord prince, which means he has these seduction techniques and he gets these ladies all riled up, and then he coldly just, and he's got a temper. If he wanted to, he could completely obliterate an entire town. He's so powerful. And and what they do is he has regular rage. Damon's character, it changes really good over the years. And then he goes into just cold rage, which is, they've had these things on him called the Rings of Obedience that basically are, and the queens can control that and cause pain to the male wearing it because he's a pleasure slave. And so if he does something that they don't like, well, then the queens can exert some power, and of course the pain and the area guy goes down. Well, apparently they don't understand that this Damon guy is a black jeweled warlord prince. I think he was born to the red, but after he made the offering, he became a black jeweled prince. Wrong guy to mess with. You can only push those guys so far. And over the years, I mean, he's like 1,700 years old or something. I mean, it droves him to a place where once he reaches that point, you know. And then his brother, which, I mean, his brother Lucifer is the same way over in Prul, and he's serving under this queen. But the things about the Aryans is they're winged creatures. They've got these huge wings, and they're a warlike society, very proud. And he's got a bad temper too, and he's very powerful in his own right. And so Lucifer, his character really comes out. You got two very strong brothers. None of them know who their father is, and eventually, you know, Lucifer's character in the second book really comes through. And that's the one thing I really liked was, you know, the first book kind of really focused on Damon, and in the second book, Lucifer's character really comes through. And we learn more about the Aryan race and about protection, and we even learn about some of the ancient myths. Like way back in the day, there was how did people get this magic? There was this great female dragon, and there were two dragons. You know, there was a whole race of dragons. Well, basically, it came down to two. There was Lorne, which was the lord of all the male dragons, basically, and then there was the queen, who didn't have a name. Okay, very important here. Well, eventually, to give a gift to the rest of creation, the female dragon went and dissipated her body, and all her scales and everything fell down to the earth, and whoever was there and touched those scales became part of her, part of the blood. This is how they got magic abilities. Now, Lauren's still around, which I don't want to mess too much of that up, but basically that's how you've got unicorns, and you've got all these different, wherever a scale or whatever part of her body landed down, then all of a sudden that was what had magic ability. And so that's why you've got the Kindred, and you've got all these other things that aren't just human that wind up being of the blood. We find out what the blood is all about. It's that lady dragon. Now, whatever happened to her? So that's definitely something I'm not going to tell you about, because I want you to read it and find out. But trust me, we get a lot of the backstory about this world and how these people got this, and why all of a sudden now all of this blood is becoming diluted, especially with Dorothea screwing things up and killing people that are powerful, you know, and messing up the bloodline to where it's you know, there's not very many strong people left, and if they are, they couldn't challenge her, and you know. So basically, you see a lot of where that's setting up here. There needs to be a cleansing, okay? And so not only are the human dreams made flesh with this Janelle girl, but also the dreams of the Kindred, which is basically the animal-like things like unicorns and dogs, and these really cool Australian cats that are really huge. All these little things that had touched that dragon scale way back in the day were, you know, it was also their dreams. So Janelle's not only human dreams made flesh, but animal dreams. So just to lay the fabric down on you for you. And then obviously one of my favorite characters is Surreal. Okay, and well, I love Carla too, because she does, like, she's always talking about kiss, you know, every time she makes somebody mad. But Surreal's a really main character, I would say, because she's been an assassin, and she's worked in red houses, which are basically prostitute houses, but she's a high-end one. And see, somebody had Cartain Sa Diablo, who is the son of Dorothea Sa Diablo, had killed her mother, and so she's trying to get him back, you see. And so now when she invites a guy into her room and he's in his moment, she kills him. That's how she, yeah. So Surreal is pretty bad. You know what I mean? She's become an assassin, and she lures them in. Boom, she kills them in right after they, you know. So she's hunting this down, and she is a main character as well. But then, like I said, towards the end of the last, we see where Janelle's finally starting to come in here, because she was a 12-year-old girl, so that's why Damon was so confused. You know, he finally sees this one woman that he wants to serve after all the other ones treat him bad, and she's a 12-year-old girl. And so he's like, "You've got to be kidding me. I can't do that. I can't. She's a 12-year-old kid." You know. But as the books go on, she obviously reaches adulthood, which, you know. And then, of course, the last book, Queen of the Darkness, which was just masterfully done. All these things just, you know, you got Falinar, who's another Aryan. You know, you're introduced to Lucifer's mother, Luthvir, which she's awesome. Some very touching moments. There's you know, everybody wants control of Janelle. Everybody wants to figure out what's going to happen, and you know, it's hard to figure out what's going on. So that's just what happened.
Final war. You know, who's going to war? What's going on? The end of the book. Once again, Kalar and Terrell, the two realms, are about to just go to battle, but they don't really figure out who they're fixing to go to battle with. And but anyways, it's a fantastic story. I hope you stick to it and you really enjoy it. You're gonna love this trilogy. But if you get a chance, it's definitely worth a read. Like I said, just go out. I got this because it you know, burn it. There it is. Yeah, Anne Bishop, the Black Jewels trilogy. Or you can, you know, they're all on Kindle for about $3 to $4. But from my bookshelf to yours, I really hope that you enjoy it. Keep on reading.